Hello, and welcome to the Cinema Lounge podcast. My name is Garrett Inman, and I am your host. Today, we are talking about Doom Patrol, the HBO Max DC show. I'm gonna be honest, I am tired as crap. I'm not recording it quite as late as I did either last week or the week before. It's only 7, 7:09. But I've had a very busy week full of a bunch of late nights and tears and work and rain and so much other things that I am just worn out. I am pooped. And I didn't really watch a lot this week. So I didn't really have anything to talk about. And then I found out Doom Patrol Season 3 is coming back this week. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna do something for you guys. So yeah, we'll talk about Doom Patrol and just why I think you guys should watch it. I'm excited for Season 3. I think Doom Patrol is one of the most unique, creative, and just weird yet emotional superhero shows out there. There's nothing quite like it in the superhero space of TV. So, might as well hype it up a little bit before Season 3 comes out. But first, as we always do, let's get into the weekly headlines, which I neglected to actually look for. So I'm just going to see if there's any headlines out there right now that I find interesting. Let's see. Yep. Nothing super interesting, I guess, happened this week. Yeah. Oop. That's my ringtone. Someone texted me. Yeah. Sung Kang's gonna be in the new Star Wars Obi-Wan show. I mean, that's frankly about it. Yeah, like, there's not a lot. Oh, Anthony Mackie's gonna star in an adaptation of Twisted Metal, which is a video game. I think it's like a racing video game, but it's like really, well, for lack of a better word, metal. It is just really wild and out there and crazy. But like, yeah, that's about all that's happened this week. Most of what happened this week was just a bunch of actors saying, "Oh yeah, I would like to return to this role." A bunch of interviews like that. There was some more leaked footage of what's his face, Andrew Garfield, saying that he's not on in No Way Home. He's vehemently denying it despite all evidence to the contrary, because Kevin Feige's got a sniper trained on that man's head, and if he says anything, he's expendable, unlike Tom Holland. So, you know, like nothing newsworthy happened this week, in my opinion, or at least from what I've seen. Nothing like huge. I know Norm Macdonald passed away. Lost his fight to cancer, his battle, or as he joked about, he was a loser in death. And yeah, a lot of people have been talking about Norm. I personally wasn't a huge fan, didn't follow a lot of what he did, but I did feel his presence in a lot of the comics that I followed, or some of the people that I followed. Norm hugely inspired them, and then they in turn helped shape my view on comedy, and really just got me into the stand-up space, or interested in the stand-up space. So in some ways, if Norm never did what he did, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am in my life. Partially. So that death has kind of been a lot for the comedy community. But yeah, I mean, all prayers to the family. I don't talk a lot about celebrity deaths on here as a part of the news, but this one just felt like a huge monumental one, because he died a little younger than say like Ed Asner. He died a couple weeks ago, and it felt like this just black hole black hole just sucking out all happiness and joy from the comedy community. So prayers to the family. He was a good dude, a very funny man. I've been spending this past week watching clips in my free time of some of his stand up, and he's hilarious. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's about it for the headlines. I don't know. Like I said, I'm really tired. Not like partially sleepy tired, but I'm mostly just exhausted. What with all my late nights, I had a lot of events that I had to go to and work on top of normal job performance work stuff. I'm a little behind on some of my stuff that I got to do for my internship, which is fun. But yeah, let's just get into just life updates, I guess. I don't know. Whatever pops into my head. Can you tell I'm tired? All right. Doom Patrol. This is going to be like a really freaking short episode because I did almost zero preparation for this because I've been working on crap all freaking day, all freaking week. So I didn't really have time to prepare or binge watch the first 2 seasons again. I finished watching them a couple months back. So it's not like this isn't at all in my mind. It's relatively fresh. So Doom Patrol is one of the most interesting, one of the most weird, one of the most emotionally resonant superhero shows I've ever seen. First off, props to the cast. This show has a fantastic cast. People you will probably recognize. We got Matt Bomer, Brendan Fraser. I'm all here for the Brendanizants. Timothy Dalton. But you also got a shout out to the rest of the people who round out this cast: April Bowlby, Diana Guerrero, and Jovian. I don't know why. Javon. I'm gonna say Javon Wade. All of them are fantastic actors. Alan Tudyk was in season 1, and he was fantastic in that. But yeah, I mean, this cast does a really good job. It was great seeing Brendan Fraser in something. Since he hasn't really been in a lot of like big high profile stuff, and now suddenly he was in No Sudden Moves, a Steven Soderbergh project. He's about to be in a Martin Scorsese movie. Like, we're in the midst of the Brendanizants, and I'm here for it, and this is what started it, you know? But all of them play very interesting characters. So, if you don't know who the Doom Patrol are, the Doom Patrol is a DC superhero team that's kind of like the X-Men, I suppose, but not exactly. So the X-Men obviously are a group of mutants led by a dude in a wheelchair who can be morally dubious sometimes, but ultimately believes in the cause of making a world where mutants and humans can live together as equals and in harmony. The Doom Patrol is a bit different in that, yes, it is a group of outsiders, a group of social pariahs, led by a dude in a wheelchair who can be morally dubious from time to time. But here's the difference between the two groups. First off, the Doom Patrol aren't a group of mutants. They are just a group of weirdos. The mutants in the X-Men, at the very least, can live normal human lives. Most of them. And they kind of are just normal humans with, like, certain powers. Cyclops shoots just brute force out of his eye sockets. Storm can control the weather. This would be more like a team of nightcrawlers, of just people who cannot exist in the real world because they're just so different from human beings. They just stand out. They can't blend in. They can't live normal lives because everyone will look at them in terror and in fear. That's pretty much what this team is. If the X-Men was a bunch of nightcrawlers, that's what it would be. The entire team is, at least in this iteration, in this show, each team member is in one way or another immortal, is another kind of difference. Each of them have power sets and abilities that allow them to effectively live forever, thanks to our wheelchair-bound leader. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because there's some stuff that develops. But as it stands right now, each of our characters are effectively immortal, but not invincible. They can be killed. They just can't age, for one way or another. Let me run through the characters real quick. You got Cliff Steele, a.k.a. Robot Man. He is a living brain inside of a robot. He cannot age. Thus, he cannot die of old age. He is immortal. He was a NASCAR race car driver. This is how I first heard about the show. Cool story. This is how I first kind of heard about the show. I didn't really know anything about it. I had kind of heard whisperings, but I was like, it's probably not interesting. I went to the only NASCAR race I've ever been to. Two of my best, closest, tightest friends ever are huge into NASCAR. In fact, one of them dropped out of college this past semester in order to pursue being a NASCAR driver. That is how into this they are. They love the racing. They love the high velocity cars going around in circles. But I decided to accompany them. This was kind of like a pseudo senior trip for high school. And we were at the track. We were getting ready to go in. We were in this tent that was like a trailer that was showcasing some of the new military technology that had come up. And I look out the window and I see Brendan Fraser just standing on a stage. If you guys have seen the viral meme of Brendan Fraser looking at a camera with a cowboy hat going, "What are you doing Sunday?" I was there when that happened. That is my big claim to fame. I was there when the famous Brendan Fraser meme was filmed. I was in the trailer behind him. And if you want the receipts, let me see if I can't pull up some pictures from this. But yeah, so I look out the window, I go, what the crap is Brendan Fraser doing here? He's on stage wearing that classic white cowboy hat. So I snapped a couple pictures like a freaking creepy person when they see a celebrity, because that's usually how it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let me see if I can't turn the brightness down. That's Brendan Fraser right there. That is Brendan Fraser at, let's see if I can't focus. You get it. You get the idea. That's Brendan Fraser that I saw. That is one of the closest I've ever been to a celebrity. I'm so glad it was Brendan Fraser. Could not have been a better person. But he drove the pace car for the race. And they said, Brendan Fraser is driving the pace car. Check him out on the new DC Universe show Doom Patrol, where he plays Cliff Steele, the NASCAR driver. And I said, okay, I'm interested. Let me see if I can't find this. So I watched it. I found it, started watching it, rewatched it, I think, as well, because it's just that good of a show. But yeah, he plays this NASCAR driver, that is all to say. And his whole thing is that, to use some colorful language, he was a cheating bastard. He was a no good two-timing whore. he was a famous NASCAR driver who he was in the 80s or 90s, and he decided it would be a good idea to cheat on his wife with the maid. And he gets found out, and so his wife, while he's racing around the racetrack, decides to openly grope his pit boss, causing him to freak out and crash. That leads to a fight on the way home in the car with him, his wife, and his daughter. And they get into a car crash where all three of them get decapitated. But Chief comes in, Wheelchair Chief. I forget his actual name, but I call him Chief. That's his name in the comics. That's what I call him. But Chief comes in and decides he's going to save Cliff's life by putting his brain into a robot. And he kind of becomes the heart of the show. He is a foul-mouthed, loud, obnoxious guy. But at the end of the day, he's just a dude who recognized his faults, because right before they crashed, if I remember right, he committed to trying to be a better husband. It wasn't like they had this fallout and suddenly they all died. No, they got into a fight and he said, this was my fault. He owns up to it. And he says, I'm going to be a better husband from now on. And that, then his family's life gets tragically cut short, and he committed to it and he can't follow through, which makes for a very compelling character, because now he's a guy who messed up. Not only messed up and felt guilty and then he messed up, felt guilty, and he committed to being better, but now he can't. Which leaves him with this big, hollow hole in his heart that he no longer has. So he's definitely the character that gets a lot of the emotional moments. He gets there's some stuff that's revealed about some people close to him. I don't want to get into super specifics because I want you guys to watch the show. I don't think the show is watched near enough. So this is my like Infinity Train episode. I'm going to try to sell you on this show. This is all on HBO Max, by the way. So go watch it. It's now an HBO Max exclusive. You have no excuse. This isn't like DC Universe where it's like, I'm not going to pay like monthly to watch this. This is HBO Max. Come on, man. They got Warner Brothers content, Cartoon Network, Studio Ghibli, everything, man. It's my favorite streaming service. But yeah, Robot Man becomes our heart out of all of the characters. He becomes our straight man, the guy who we follow into this world. Someone who's just whose life is abruptly cut short, and suddenly he wakes up and 35 years have passed since his family has died. So he has no one. So he's trying to adjust to this new life without his family, a family that he committed to being a better father figure in. And it's kind of heartbreaking, but also he's a hilarious character because it's Brendan Fraser, and he's foul-mouthed, and he's loud, and he's obnoxious, and he's a bit of a dummy, and that makes him incredibly endearing. But besides him, I think the other like pretty prominent character, another character that is kind of a Doom Patrol classic character, Robot Man was also one that's kind of like part of the quintessential Doom Patrol team, as is this guy, Larry Trainor, aka Negative Man, who was a test, kind of like an army test pilot in the 50s. So he wears this bomber jacket. The issue with him, how he's immortal and why he can't go out into the normal world, he was test flying a plane that was trying to go into space. He started to get in there, and then he encountered this field of negative energy that completely destroyed the plane and fried him. So he has all these horrific burns. He's radioactive, and they put him in a radioactive containment unit for years until Chief found him. And basically Chief created this rap that would contain the radiation, so Larry can go out into the normal world. So Larry has to walk around in the normal world with basically wrapped up like the Mummy. He has these dope freaking aviator, not sunglasses, but like aviator goggles. The character design for Negative Man is awesome. Always has been. But his way of being immortal is that the negative energy that's seared into him is a living being. So he has this living being of negative energy that lives inside of him and keeps him alive. If the being leaves him, he will start to die, and I think it's maybe like 5 minutes max he can go without the being. But if the being goes for too long, Larry will die, but the being makes him immortal. So you get a lot of delving into Larry's backstory, certain elements about him. I don't know if it's quite up front with it at first, or if they try to save it and reveal it to kind of add some layers to his character, but to keep it a little vague, just to kind of make it a bit of a surprise. Larry is a man who lives with a lot of regrets as well. He has moved on from his family. He was a married man with kids. But he was also someone who was living a secret double life and lying to everyone around him, everyone he cared about, never fully committing to anything. And that made him a bit aloof, made him a bit of a douchebag. And he never got the chance to be able to go to the people he loved and fully commit to them or to life decisions, to job decisions, career decisions, never committing, just going through the motions and then merged with the negative energy being. And now he can't go back. There's a really freaking great episode in, I think, season 2, where he tries to go back and reunite with his family, his kids and their kids and their kids. And it does not go well. He's a guy who has somewhat of an opportunity to redeem himself, but he's self-loathing, he's regretful, and that just kind of is a detriment to him. And part of his arc is just kind of being able to forgive himself for that and finding the people, the still living people in his life who are willing to forgive him. But yeah, I think he was a really great character. I nearly cried in a scene in season 2. Like, that's how I think Larry is one of the most emotionally resonant characters because he starts out as this jaded, self-loathing guy, and the more you find out about him, the more you just get sucked into him as a character. Yeah. Next, we have Rita. I think Rita Farr, the Elastigirl. Before the Incredibles Elastigirl was a thing, there was another Elastigirl. She was a part of the Doom Patrol, and she could also stretch her body. The issue is, in this show, and maybe in the comics, it's not just that she can stretch her body. Her entire body is gelatinous. If she does not focus day and night to maintain her human shape, she will literally just become a blob that cannot do anything, which allows her to live forever because the elastic skin kind of keeps her from aging, doesn't really have like a brittle bone structure problem, stuff like that. Rita Farr was a famous movie star, a famous actress in the pictures. She was going places. And this was in the 20s, the 30s. They were on a film shoot in, I think, Africa. Either that or they were on set in an African setting. And she fell off the dock, bounced into this gym, and that gave her powers and her curse. She was one who always prided herself on her beauty, her good looks, and now her face can just droop when she gets slightly upset. So she is someone who has to maintain composure, someone who has to restrain her emotions and keep that inside, lest she lose control of her body. And once again, a compelling character. She is someone who is full of herself, someone who has to learn to humble herself in order to be a part of this kind of messed up family. She also is someone who doesn't have any connections to the outside world, while Cliff and Larry have families, have spouses and kids and stuff like that, or even just people they knew. Like, Cliff's pit boss was in an episode in, I think, season 2. So both of them have living relatives or living friends and family that they try to reunite with. Rita has none of that. She's just someone who has always been alone. She's always been a bit of a what's the word? I can't think of the word. She's very much a prima donna. There it is. She's someone who was always full of herself, someone who didn't take into consideration relationships with others. And I think, if I remember right, she was Chief's first recruit into the Doom Patrol. So she has that deeper relationship with Chief because he was the first guy to ever approach her, the first person to ever approach her, not as a movie star or not as a femme fatale. He just approached her as human and someone who needed help, and he offered her help. And I think that makes for a pretty good character. Next, there's Crazy Jane, who is a crazy person. Pretty much. She's very similar to Legion, Professor X's son, where she has multiple personalities, and each personality has a different power. So Hammerhead is an aggressive personality with super strength and super durability, but then there's also protector personalities. Hammerhead is one of them, but you also have, I think, what's her name, Ruby Tuesday maybe, or something like that, who is this giant thing with a ball of fire for a head and shoots fire everywhere. But then she has regressive personalities like Baby Doll, who is just a baby, a little toddler. And then she also has this one personality who's kind of also a prima donna, who is kind of like a stereotypical Southern belle, Midwestern sorority girl type, who's only concerned about trying to find a husband so I can marry into a rich family and get all the inheritance money, stuff like that. She, in a lot of her struggle, is trying to control her personalities. You find out a lot about the past of the personalities of Jane as a vessel, Jane as a personality, and you get to delve into the world of Jane's personalities. You get to go inside of her head. There's an episode that completely takes place in her head, where you get to fully explore the world of Crazy Jane through her eyes and through her head. But she also starts to form this bond with Cliff. Cliff almost takes on this father figure role for her because he's missing his daughter. And he starts to see her as his daughter and tries to kind of use her to redeem himself as a father. The issue is that Crazy Jane is a crazy person, does not take well to authority, so that causes conflict, but they start to genuinely have a bond where they confide in each other and look out for one another, and I think that's really sweet. She's also the most recent addition to the team. Well, actually, second most recent. I think she comes in the early 2000s. She was found in a mental institution where she attacked a lot of her patients or her doctors. But our newest member to the team is Victor Stone, aka Cyborg, who is actually, fun fact, I don't think he was ever a member of the Doom Patrol. I could be wrong on that. But you know who was? Beast Boy. Beast Boy was a member of the Doom Patrol in the Teen Titans TV show. I'm pretty sure as Changeling he was a member of the Doom Patrol. I could be wrong. I don't think Cyborg has ever been a member of the Doom Patrol. However, both Cyborg and Beast Boy fit into this team really well because, as I said, each of the other characters can't go out into the real world. Cliff is a robot. Rita is a blob. Larry is wrapped in rags. Jane is a crazy person with multiple personalities who can take over at any minute that she does not have control over. Victor Stone is a cyborg. He's not a robot. He's a cyborg. So there's kind of that fun dichotomy between him as a cyborg and Cliff as Robot Man, where at least Cyborg is able to taste, feel, experience things, while Robot Man is kind of just this cold, lifeless husk who just kind of goes through the motions. Cliff doesn't feel pain. Cliff doesn't feel hunger. Cliff doesn't feel the warm touch of a loved one. He doesn't get to experience hugging someone and really feeling it, while Vic does. But what makes this version of Cyborg interesting is that they actually incorporate Silas Stone, his father, into the main story of Season 1, where Vic has to work through his relationship with his father, how they both kind of not like each other, but Silas still, like, you can tell through it all, Silas genuinely loves his son, and I think this is the best relationship representation of Silas and Vic. You don't really get to see that in any other iterations of Cyborg. In Teen Titans, Cyborg doesn't mention his dad at all. In the Justice League, Silas is barely in it, but this presents such a three-dimensional relationship between the two where it's kind of Vic's fault how he became Cyborg, let's say. His father was never around for his football games and anything like that, so he just thought his father never loved him. And he was always concerned with his science, him and his mother. And on a fateful night, Vic confronts his mom, and things go horribly wrong. And Silas makes a choice that will forever strain their relationship, leading to Victor and Silas having this very strained relationship. You can tell Silas, yes, has made mistakes as a father, but still genuinely loves his son. He wants to invest in that relationship now, while Vic is bitter on him and basically blaming him for what happened in the past. And it's all very interesting. Vic is also gets to actually go full superhero mode in a couple episodes. I think he's played by a really good actor. I warmed up to the suit. I remember when the suit got first revealed, and I did not like it. I've warmed up to it. I think it fits the aesthetic of the show. But Vic is a nice addition as well. Finally, in the team, we got Chief. Chief is awesome. For a dude who's confined to a wheelchair, he has so many moments of heartwarming fatherly love, but can also be incredibly intimidating. His morality, whether he's good or bad, is called into question constantly. There are plenty of things revealed about him. He has done some messed up stuff, and they have to work through it because at the end of the day, Chief saved their lives. He helped make them who they are in one way or another, and he becomes just kind of this really flawed father of the Doom Patrol. Not to mention he has a daughter in season 2 named Dorothy, who is a cave girl, and I say that because that's what happened. Chief is obsessed with immortality, trying to find a way to prolong his life, and prolong people he loves. But in season 2, you find out that at some point in the past, when he could still walk, he met this Neanderthal, for a better word, basically a lady who's a cave woman, and they end up doing the dirty. He has a daughter, and she has very powerful imaginary friends who can manifest themselves. One's a spider, and there's a couple of others, but we'll get into the most important one in the next section. First, Chief is a great character. I love that he's not just this paragon of good. He's not like Professor X, where Professor X does some dubious things to ensure or to accomplish a noble goal. Chief is kind of just this selfish guy who will do whatever it takes to find the key to unlocking immortality, with very little regard for who is around him, which leads to very interesting conflict. But also, the more you learn about him, the more interesting his character becomes. You get introduced to people he had relationships with, friendships, or whatever, and Chief becomes this entryway, this door, not to just to the Doom Patrol, but to the wild, wacky world of the show. There's a 2-part episode arc in season 1 that introduces us to, I think his name's Montgomery, who's kind of like John Constantine, except way worse at his job, not near as competent. And he's a sorcerer, and they have to stop this cult from trying to destroy the world. Ooh. But he was great. There's other characters that kind of pop up occasionally. There's a Nazi scientist. There's what's his name? There is vitamin or vegetable mineral man, I think, if I remember right. Hold on, let me see if Willoughby Kipling. That's who the sorcerer is. But you also have freaking. Let me see if I can't find this guy because he is hilarious. Yeah, Animal Vegetable Mineral Man plays a recurring minor role, and he is hilarious. In the comics, this is an actual real guy. He is a dude who has animal powers, vegetable powers, and mineral powers. Different parts of his body are vegetables, minerals, and depending on what iteration, he either has a T-Rex head or like a Velociraptor head, or like a face that's half Velociraptor head. But in this version, he has his head and then a Velociraptor head, and it is hilarious. You also have a minor villain named the Beard Hunter, who is way weirder than his comic book counterpart. In the comics, Beard Hunter is just like a very lame bounty hunter guy who I think he just is clean shaven, if I remember right. That's all he is. He's obsessed with being clean shaven, or like he's unable to grow hair, so he goes after people with beards and kill them. Beard Hunter in this show is a lot stranger. His superpower, I kid you not, is he will eat people's facial hair in order to see into their minds and know where they're at. He can eat your hair and become psychically connected to you, which is weird as all hell. But yeah, he was a great weird character. But I guess I mentioned villains, so let's get into the villains real quick. Season 1, our main antagonist is also coincidentally the narrator of the show. I mean that to say, the show first episode starts out with a narration describing who the Doom Patrol is, and then you find out that the narration is actually being told by our main antagonist, a guy named Mr. Nobody, played by the great Alan Tudyk. And it isn't a narration of, oh, he was just talking to, no, he was talking to you. This man is basically just like, kind of like Deadpool, except Deadpool could break the fourth wall and knew that he was in a TV show, but that was about it. Or in a movie, and that was about it. Mr. Nobody knows he's in a TV show. He can also bend the rules of reality, which makes for some great freaking gags and weird moments. He ends the first episode, not joking, he ends the first episode by shoving an entire town up a donkey's butthole. And I know that probably turned some people off to the show. And hey, they recognize it. Mr. Nobody in the very next episode is talking to Chief, and Chief is like, "What are you doing?" And Mr. Nobody goes, "Oh, I'm talking to the 5 people left watching this show after the last episode ended with a donkey eating a town." He breaks the fourth wall all the time. He controls the show. And these characters have to overcome this guy who transcends space and time. Which is freaking great. I loved Mr. Nobody. He is a top tier villain. You learn about his backstory, how he was like a Z-list evil scientist guy who goes to the Nazi scientists to get powers. And I love the design of the character. I love the fact that he breaks the fourth wall and docks directly to the audience. I hope he comes back in season 3. I don't think he will, though, but he might. Beard Hunter also came back. And I say, you'll get why I say that when you watch season 1, at the end of season 1. Season 2, our main villain is Dorothy's imaginary friend, a guy named Candlemaker. Candlemaker basically is just this all-powerful guy who manipulates Dorothy and plays on her insecurities. She's going through her own little version of prepubescence and rebellious years, so he plays on that into unleashing him upon the world. And unfortunately, season 2 ends on a cliffhanger because they were filming during the pandemic and had to shut down production. So the second season is cuts off right before cuts off at the penultimate episode. It ends with the final confrontation, and yeah, and then it just kind of ends, which sucks. But season 3 will probably, end the previous season's arc and then continue on with this one. But Candlemaker's not as good as Mr. Nobody, just because he's kind of just this devil on Dorothy's shoulder and manipulating her and preying on her, but you don't really get to figure out who this guy is, if he is just a machination of Dorothy's head that has come to life and kind of self-realized himself, or if this was kind of a demon thing that attached itself to Dorothy and is trying to grow more and more powerful. But he's scary, and I think that's why he's such a great villain, is he's kind of terrifying. There's an episode that shows us when Dorothy first meets Candlemaker, and he absolutely massacres an entire circus, and it's horrifying, especially to her, because you see it through her eyes. He has a great, disturbing voice. Voiced by, I think, Lex Lang is his name, and I think he does a great job. I think if they had a better budget, I would have said like Tony Todd or Kevin Michael Richardson, but Lex Lang picks up that kind of slack, and you know what? He does a great job. But not as emotionally depth or, frankly, as unique as Mr. Nobody, but a solid villain. And I am excited for season 3, because I think it has been confirmed our villains will be Madame Rouge and the Brain, the Brotherhood of Evil, the Doom Patrol's arch nemesis, and I am excited to see how they incorporate them into what this show is. Because the comics are traditional superhero stories for the most part, fighting against the Brotherhood of Evil, very much like season 5 of Teen Titans. So I'm curious to see how they're going to bring in these more traditional villains into a show that embraces weird. Speaking of weird, this will be my last point and we'll sign out. I'm surprised how long I've talked about this, to be honest. But that just shows how long-winded I am. The last point I want to talk about, and this is kind of what you should look at in terms of if you will enjoy this show. If you like weird out there concepts, this show is the show for you. Like I said, an entire town is put inside of a donkey. Inside of a donkey, either a mouth or a butthole. I don't remember quite which one it was. There's an episode where they get shrunk down. There's a character named Danny the Street, who is a living, breathing street that teleports around, that then becomes Danny the Brick. Frankly, and to be fair, the episodes involving Danny the Street are probably my least favorite episodes because they just feel a little detached from everything else going on for the most part. You have an episode in season 2 where they go and confront this guy named Red Jack, who surrounds himself with butterflies. They go after Dr. Time, who is a time traveler. Or this guy in this like time dimension where it's 24/7 disco night, and he's just freaking booling and balling. He has this dope freaking mask on, but it might not be a mask as they find out. There's everything to do with Mr. Nobody, how he kind of, I forget exactly, but he directly interacts with the airing order of episodes. Let me look up some other episodes, because there's some other like fun weirdness. I think like the last episode of season 1 is basically Mr. Nobody kind of pitching all these different ideas to confront Chief to convince him that he's an awful person. The last episode of season 2, the Doom Patrol fight their imaginary friends. And Cliff's, it was a little funny. Elastigirl has to fight this character that's cobbled together by different images from magazines to create the perfect woman that represents her insecurities. Victor Stone has to fight a cowboy space version of his father. But Cliff has to fight a version of Jesus that he conjured up when he went to a church camp and got the wrong idea about who Jesus is. And so that's who he has to fight, and he gets shellacked. Let's see, there's an entire episode where they go inside of Jane's head and have to fight their way through that. There's an episode where they all just become kind of dumb. There's an episode where 3 people come down from space and they're all like Russian, but they have maybe some powers, some hidden secrets. My least favorite episode of the series has to do with Danny the Brick, and they kind of put on this giant party. And I think, if I remember right, this is the main villain of the episode is like a sex demon, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it did bring in, I think they're called like the Sex Busters or something, but they're basically like the Ghostbusters, but for sexual energy. Like, this entire series is just weird and wacky, and if none of what I've described sounds appealing to you, okay, this might not be the thing for you. But even some of this, or a majority of this, you kind of like vibe with, like, oh, the Sexmen, that's what it was. It's the Sexmen, not the X-Men, the Sexmen, that's who it was. If you don't appreciate just how idiotically stupid and weird and wacky this is, and this still somehow manages to be a mostly family drama, emotion-filled at the same time, while also having these just weird, wacky, funny ideas, you're missing out. I'm just saying. There's an entire episode where they're tiny. Cliff freaking punches out a rat. It's such a great episode, or it's just a great show. Yeah, there's an entire episode where there's just an eye in the sky, and if it looks at you, you disintegrate. I'm not gonna give out everything. I will say a couple of other important characters. You get introduced to Metallo or Metallo or whatever. Not Metallo. I think it's Metallo or something like that. Who I think canonically is usually the leader of the Doom Patrol, but Minto, that's his name. Jeez, his name is Minto, and he has mind control powers. In this version of the show, he's a former member of the Doom Patrol, and you find out about him and some of the crap he's gone through, and that reveals some stuff about Chief. And another important character is Flex Mentallo, who is a superhero who can bend reality by flexing his muscles, but it has to be the right muscle. He can't just go a boosh and something happens and then do it again and something else. Nah, he's got to pose, and if he does this, if he goes a boosh, then then suddenly it's going to start raining. But if he goes a boosh, I'm sorry, listeners, if you're not watching this is going to sound really stupid, but he goes like this, and suddenly it'll start a volcano will erupt or so. He can literally bend reality just by flexing certain muscles. Once again, showing how weird this is. There's also, first season has a recurring character who is a doomer preacher cockroach. There's a cockroach who just kind of keeps popping up and eventually becomes important. And his entire thing is standing on street sides yelling at people saying the end is coming soon. That's the kind of show we're dealing with. But yeah, I would highly recommend this show. Can't wait for season 3. But also, this is a weird freaking show. And watch it if you like weird freaking things. This is one of the most interesting, unique, and emotion-filled and weird superhero show out there. And I want more shows like this. Less of The Flash, less of Arrow. I want more shows that take risks, take some sort of chances instead of just being standard by the books, teen drama, or whatever. I want more Doom Patrol, Daredevil, Jessica Jones. That's about that. Oh, Legion. Legion is a phenomenal show. It's better than any of the shows I've just listed, except maybe Daredevil. Daredevil's up there. But I want shows that are going to take those risks, take the characters seriously, and really try to get at the core of who those characters are, whether it be Doom Patrol or Daredevil with his struggle with faith, and then the one-take fight scenes and the deep emotionally complicated villains, or you look at Legion with just the phenomenal imagery and the trippy vibe it has, and the musical segments that come out of nowhere but still somehow work within the show, the epic battles. I want more stuff like that. Not Arrow, not The Flash. And I say this as a person who is a fan of the Arrow and was a fan of The Flash. Not anymore. The Flash stopped being good 3 years ago. Come on. But that all is to say, make more shows like the Doom Patrol. If you want my suggestions, I would love to get an X-Men show that feels similar to this. Not exactly, but that deals with the X-Men in their day-to-day lives. Trying to blend in, trying to operate in a world that hates them. That follows Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Storm, Angel, Beast, Jubilee, all those people in their day-to-day lives and how they survive daily. Or make a show about Spider-Man and make it kind of this teen rom-com, but also a coming of age, trying to find your place in the world, with excellent, with some great fight scenes or something. Or if you want some like smaller characters to do this kind of stuff with, let's go along the lines of DC and kind of embrace the weird of it, but maybe make a show about, I had a name off the top of my head and I kind of lost it. So, well, how about this? Make a live action Static Shock, following Virgil and in the inner city, and kind of portray a more modernized version of the inner city while still staying true to the characters. Who exactly is E-Bone, and how would he interact with them? Stuff like that. Just creating more emotionally complex shows, I suppose. That rhymed. I'm tired, guys. Let's wrap it up with the weekly recommendations. We've been going on for about 56 minutes, which I'm kind of surprised about. But hey, that's what happens when I'm tired as crap and I just rant about a show. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me this far. Let's jump into the weekly recommendations. First off, we got Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Watched this a couple of weeks ago. Like I said, I barely watched anything this week. So I'm just going to bring to light some other underrated gems, just like Doom Patrol. Atlantis is very famous for being underrated. People don't really talk about this one as much, or they hate it. I personally quite enjoy it. I love the animation, the style, the look of everything, how they kind of put Atlantis in this pseudo steampunk esque world and environment. I think our core group of characters is great. How Milo goes along with this team of mercenaries, and you get to know a little bit more about each one of them, except for Mole there. Mole is just kind of there to be Mole. His relationship that blossoms with the Atlantean princess, and the deep conflict that happens. I really enjoyed all of that. I think this is an excellent film. And then another Disney movie that is completely underrated, that is probably famous for being underrated, is Treasure Planet. Yes, the robot guy is a bit annoying. Thankfully, he's only in like the last 30 minutes of the movie. But everything else is great. Our main character is compelling. He has a great background motivation. Our villain, John Silver, is very well written, probably one of the best written Disney villains out there. Someone who actually feels human, deals with inner turmoil and conflicting feelings about his mission and his relationships. We have like a cute little goop thing that actually isn't annoying. But yeah, besides that, I mean, this movie's fantastic. It went full space odyssey, steampunk, in an adaptation of treasure hunting, of Treasure Island. Like, it's a space pirate steampunk movie. That's amazing. That's awesome. I freaking loved it. Oh my gosh. Go watch it. And then lastly, a new release that I think is going to prove to be underrated as time goes on. We'll see for now, but I'm going to call it, this is going to be the most underrated movie of the year. Call me on that. And that's Cop Shop. I think Cop Shop, it's directed by Joe Carnahan, guy who did, I forget, to be honest. Joe Carnahan did The A-Team and The Gray. Those are probably his two most famous movies. But he's known to do some fun action. He did a movie earlier this year called Boss Level, which I thought was so much fun. But Cop Shop, I think, I don't know, there's something to it that made me really like it. This back and forth between Gerard Butler and Frank Grillo, teasing the audience, teasing our main character with who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. Can you trust one of them? Can you trust either of them? Our kind of second, third act villain that comes in, played by, I think, Larry Russo is his name, comes in. He's very entertaining. I think the action is fun. The background to these characters and unpeeling the layers of each character, of each of our main trio, while also getting to see some insight of the other cops in the building, whether it's the loudmouth police chief or the nervous, shifty-eyed evidence officer, or whether it's the gunslinging fun guy. All of them feel like they have genuine character motivations or character arcs. But yeah, I think this is going to be an underappreciated movie for the year. I would definitely recommend going to catch this in theaters. I just kind of went in to see this on a whim. I had 4 hours to kill, and I was in Conway, which, for context, is about an hour away from where I actually live. I didn't have a living arrangement there, so I just decided to go see this on a whim and really enjoyed it. It is currently number 11 out of 109 movies that came out this year, so it is very close to being in my top 10 of the year. And on a rewatch, it might get there. Probably not, though. My top 10 is pretty solid. But yeah, this movie, I think, will go on to be unappreciated and underrated. Check out all of these. I implore you. If you haven't seen Atlantis or Treasure Island or Treasure Planet, I know those two are more high profile. I implore you to go see those if you haven't. But especially go watch Cop Shop in theaters. Give them some money because that is a fun freaking movie. And go watch Doom Patrol on HBO Max Season 3 starting September 23rd. Mark your calendars. Watch the show. It's so good. It's so freaking good, guys. The production on this show is amazing. And yeah, we about hour, 2 minutes in now. I'm surprised to talk this long. I'm tired as crap. I got some homework to do for tomorrow, which is when you guys will be listening to this. This episode drops at 9 o'clock a.m., which is when my homework is due. So I'm going to get on that. I hope you guys have a great, fantastic Monday, or whenever you're watching this. I truly do. I appreciate each and every one of you who watches and listens to this. If you're listening to this on any listening platform, give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on YouTube, press that subscrizzle button. Press the bell notification button to get alerts for whenever my episodes drop, which is every Monday at 9 a.m. And I am also thinking about, whenever I get more time, doing additional content such as movie reviews and the like. If you want to see that, click the like button. Let me know down below. If you're watching on Rumble, do the same exact thing. I love my Rumble people. Y'all are great. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to this homework. Frankly, I just want to crawl over into my bed over there and sleep, but I can't. So, time is of the essence. I will let you all go. This has been the Cinema Lounge podcast where we chilled and talked about the Doom Patrol on HBO Max. My name has been Garrett Inman, your host for today. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. And always remember, I don't know. Doom Patrol's a good show. Go watch it. I'm tired. Good night. I need to get better at those.